Welcome everyone to Keeping It Real with attorney Real Deal Neal. Today we're going to discuss the YSL trial and where the case is currently at. We're going to talk a bit about Diddy and all of these recent lawsuits that he has endured. And then finally, we're going to talk a little bit about Jonathan Majors. I look forward to keeping it real with you all this evening. First, we're going to start off with the YSL trial to see currently where they're at.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, let me go ahead and tell you where we are. Remember, yesterday we recessed because one of our participants has had a medical issue, and I was telling you about that. Well, unfortunately, that medical condition still exists, and given the length of time that uh, we're going to have to probably address that. It might be just more prudent to recess you and give you an early recess instead of recessing you this Friday, as the court's plan was originally. I'm going to recess you for the holidays today. Okay? So I know you look very disappointed. I can tell from all of you 17 as a group. It's not that bad. Okay, so what I'm going to do is let's go through the court's customary ad nauseum admonitions and the like.
And so essentially, what happened was that co-defendant um, Shannon Sidwell, excuse me, was stabbed in the jail late Sunday night in Rice Street. Apparently, a fight broke out between he and a Mr. Willie Brown, and he was stabbed multiple times. Initially, the court had everyone come on Monday and state that they would only take one night, and then they would start back on Tuesday. However, while Mr. Sidwell still remains stable, essentially um, he has them in recess all the way until after the new year. Um, so that's where we're at with the YSL trial. So there won't be any other updates in court as far as we know, as it relates to the YSL trial until after the new year. We do know that this has been somewhat of a trial that has taken a year at this point to get where we are, with lots of objections and pauses and stops, which happens during the course of trial. But there's definitely been a lot of extra things that have happened here. Um, I do want to, it's unclear at this particular time whether or not Mr. Willie Brown has anything to do with YSL or the rival rapper YFN Lucci that is purported to allegedly be a rival of Young Thug. So we're unsure at this time as of where we stand. So now we're going to move on to Diddy and where we're at, where as it relates to him, because there is a lot going on with him at this juncture.
Against Sean Diddy Combs, and court documents come with a trigger warning. This is the unidentified woman making them. Just 17 years old in these purported evidence photos, and on his lap 20 years ago. That night, she alleges to have been fed drugs, alcohol, and sex trafficked by his record label exec, Harvey Pierre. Then flown from Detroit and gang raped in his dark Midtown recording studio, steps from the bright lights of Times Square. Jane Doe's attorney says the depravity has scarred her for life. Arthur Aidala is a former prosecutor and current.
So essentially, where we're at right now is that under the in New York, under the Adult Survivors Act, essentially victims of sexual abuse had this year-long period where they could file lawsuits for these sexual crimes and nature crimes that otherwise would be have barred by the statute of limitations. Of course, we all have talked about Cassie as her record settlement that was within 24 hours of filing her lawsuit. But now we have this anonymous Miss Jane Doe that has filed these allegations against Diddy as well, and she's number 4. There are 2 other women that came after Cassie. Now, this young lady, she's using the same lawyers as Cassie. But the question is, and what's been going on in the media at this point, is whether or not her name should be anonymous. Diddy lawyers will not consent to her to remain anonymous. They feel as though that the public should be aware of who she is. Now, at this juncture, of course, she would be an adult, right? She would be an adult now, but what happened to her back then? She was a teenager, and in that specific case, he's accused of sex trafficking, with talking her into moving from one state to the next. And let's keep it real. I mean, what do you all think as it relates to? I mean, do you all believe these allegations? Is this just a paper chase or a clout chase from this young lady, or a grab bag, whatever the young people call it? You know, we keeping it real here. I mean, what is it that we have here with her? One, she wants to remain anonymous, and should she be entitled to? Should everyone know who she is? Um, what's interesting now is what we'll show is um, Mark Curry, who is a former Bad Boy artist, has come forward and made some statements as it relates to what Diddy has been involved in. So let's look and see what he has had to say as well.
Be standing there and like, let me tell you something, man. I'm gonna get back with you. We gotta rewind this back. We used to go to the when we go to the club, we used to have these bottles, right? And on this bottle, they be regular Moet bottles. On them bottles right there, they've been had something to make the girls be real slippery and all of this kind of stuff. So when you get up, they be like, don't touch them bottles right there and only drink them bottles right there. So we already knew what the drill was. You just don't mess with them bottles, right? Then all of the girls is in the club after a while. They all running, looking, opening up their mouth like little birds. Just run around just popping pills in their mouth. Pop pill, 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 pill. And then that was the party. We used to be on the road, you'd be like, yo, let me go with my puff room, see what they doing. And you knock on Puff door, he'd be sitting there damn near.
So, I mean, let's be honest, right? A lot of people thought a lot of people have had a lot to say as it relates to Cassie and whether or not her claims were true or not. But ever since this Cassie case has occurred, we've had several people that have come forward and people that are associated with Diddy, right? Who would, in fact, have personal knowledge of what his dealings are. And so right now we're dealing with a situation where you've got somebody speaking out stating that they've seen him spike drinks, or bottles of alcohol for women. Ladies and gentlemen, that's rape, right? That's rape. If you are spiking drinks of a woman and she is not aware of that, and then you subsequently go back and then there's a sexual intercourse or sexual penetration, that affects the ability to consent. In order to have sex with someone, the parties have to consent. If in fact that they have been drugged unbeknownst to them, then that's rape. And so, you know, it's really, really difficult to say that these allegations by these women are just false. And furthermore, after the latest Jane Doe lawsuit, Diddy finally gave a statement on his own behalf. There were other people that were giving statements for him before. Um, and this is essentially where he is at this juncture with it. It says, for the last couple of weeks, I have sat silently and watched people try to assassinate my character, destroy my reputation and my legacy. Sickening allegations have been made against me by individuals looking for a quick payday. Let me be absolutely clear. I did not do any of the awful things being alleged. I will fight for my name, my family, and for the truth. Sean Diddy Combs. Since this has happened, there have been numerous corporations or companies that have severed ties with Diddy. And frankly, it's these allegations against him are very, very troubling. It's interesting. It's going to be interesting to see if these cases even make it to the inside of a courtroom, meaning that they go through discovery, what we would call where both parties exchange evidence, and whether or not if there are patterns of behavior as it relates to all of these allegations that are alleged against Mr. Diddy Combs. Um, it's troubling. Um, and we're just going to have to see. We'll have to see what the court has done. And it'll be interesting if other states will employ the Adult Survivors Act and allow other people to bring forward these lawsuits against alleged rapists. Furthermore, another trial that's going on right now is has to do a lot with Mr. Jonathan Majors, which is interesting because Jonathan Majors is a misdemeanor trial. It's misdemeanor assault, and he's facing up to a year in jail in New York. But it's an explosive trial, and it has everybody essentially wondering what's going to happen with his specific case. What's going on this week with Jonathan Majors is that there are these text messages that have been introduced from 2022, around the time of September 2022, that no one had seen previously, where Mr. Majors has, in fact, allegedly asked her not to um, has asked her not to move forward with any charges against her. All right, everybody. So let's take a look. All right. So up on the screen, these are the text messages that were introduced in trial today. All right. So first, we have from Jonathan Majors, apparently around some alleged incident, a separate physical incident, where it says they will ask you questions, and as I don't think you actually protect us, it could lead to an investigation, even if you do lie and they suspect something. Then Ms. Jabari, the alleged victim in the case, states, I will tell the doctor I bumped my head if I go. I'm going to give it one more day, but I can't sleep and I need some stronger painkillers. Why would I tell them what really happened when it's clear I want to be with you? Jonathan Majors then responded, I'm a monster, a horrible man. I am killing myself soon. I've already put things in motion. So let's keep it real, right? What do these messages, these text messages really mean? I mean, essentially, they could mean a lot of things. The question is that I want to leave everybody with is this case an akin to a Johnny Depp kind of case? Or are we dealing with a situation where um, Mr. Majors has essentially beat up um, Ms. Jabari and has been a continuous abuser psychologically and physically? Um, Number one, of course, it's interesting to see if he'll testify, but from a defense perspective, they'll ask you questions as I don't think you'll protect us. It could lead to an investigation, even if you do lie and they suspect something. Well, number one, he is a celebrity, right? And so as a celebrity, they celebrities they have what do they have to protect at any public figure any public figure wants to protect their image, right? So the defense could specifically argue in this case that they want to protect him. He wanted to protect himself, and she's the one that's the abuser, and he really didn't want it to be public. But now they're kind of she's conspiring to lie on her behalf, and what that does do is hurt her credibility, right? Because first you're saying that you'll tell the doctor you bumped your head, so you're basically saying that you're going to tell the doctor a lie, um, or and then it's like, is this an admission? I'm a monster. I'm a horrible man. So is that can that be construed as an admission of guilt with him being a monster and a horrible man as it relates to this case? And it's really something that has to really be thought about here, because it looks like it's an admission of guilt on his end with him calling himself a monster, because what are you apologizing for? However, during the course of the trial, from what we have seen reported in the news outlets, is that the driver of the car that gave rose to the incident while we're in trial today testified that that he was paying attention, looking forward, that it appeared that Ms. Jabari was the one that instigated this fight and started hitting him. And then it turns into the question of, is there a justification defense for him? Was he just trying to keep her off of him? Was he physically violent with her to keep him off her? And then you have a situation where she testified about him fracturing a finger, but then she can be seen on video moving her hair behind her ear, with it appearing to be no issues with the finger. When she went to the doctors, the doctor testified that he couldn't testify to the mechanism of injury. The trial really has a lot of different issues going on with it. And in domestic violence cases, those are very difficult cases generally, right? You have this cycle of abuse. So generally in these kind of cases, you're going to have a domestic violence abuse expert come testify about the cycles of abuse and how women return to their abusers, how they recant, they'll report them and then recant. They'll lie to protect them, they'll isolate themselves. And so the question begs, is this a cycle of abuse? Has he been abusing her all this time, right? And then and she's been trying to protect him? Or is this a case like Johnny Depp, where you have a woman that is the aggressor, who is the abuser, who has been abusing him this entire time, and he's been a victim of domestic violence? um Only time will tell as this trial comes to a close. But it's a very challenging case for the state and for the defense. And it's really going to come down to the credibility of the witnesses. And, once again, thank you everyone for being with me and being here today, for keeping it real with attorney Real Deal Neal. I will keep you posted on all of the developments. Thank you. So, everyone, you know, I just want to thank everyone for tuning in with me today, and thank you for keeping it real with attorney Real Deal Neal. We'll be talking soon.